Name's Bill Say, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about center and margin dynamics, a really common and often problematic and difficult dynamic. Um, but let me say a little bit first about myself. I'm Bill Say. I live here in the San Francisco Bay Area in California, in the US. And I have a training that I started in 2001 called Community Healing and Leadership Training. Basically, it's a set of resources, training, and facilitation to help with the experience of community, whether it's an actual community group, an organization, etc. Helping with those conditions and helping to enhance leadership. Now, let me say something about center and margin, and I'm going to draw this. Let's see if I can position myself well. Get this a little bit closer. Yeah. So this is a social system, and this system could be an individual person. It could be a relationship of any sort. It could be a family, organizational team, the larger organization, a community group. It could be a whole society. And you might find that in most all social systems, you'll find these two parts. One part that is roughly central. Yeah, it occupies the center by status or numbers. It has a majority status. There is enhanced power and privileges associated with that centrality. There's more voice. There's more access to resources. There's more comfort here at the center of these different social systems. And then within the same system, you'll often find parts that are more relatively marginal. In the center, they're off to the margins. And again, you can find this in all kinds of systems. So if you think about you as an individual, there may be a part of you that you consider you. Yeah, and this is who you are. It's how you identify yourself. Maybe there's a certain set of qualities or characteristics or values that you may hold, and then there's parts of you that you may marginalize. Maybe there's feelings that you don't like about yourself. Maybe there's qualities or even inner perspectives that you don't somehow hold as you. Okay. And then you find that in all kinds. Let's say another situation. So we'll call this marginal. Um, like if you think about a family system, there's often like a central or kind of more mainstream culture of the family. Let's say a family that says we're a hardworking family, and then maybe there's a child who comes along that's more easygoing, or what the family culture might deem lazy, right? So then that person or that style becomes marginal relative to the centralized culture of the system. And then you find this again in organizations and community groups. And then in the larger society, you'll find a part that's more relatively central, privileged, et cetera, more power, more voice, and then parts and people that are and groups that are more marginalized. Now, in society, actually in other systems too, but in society, it's important to note that the existence and in particular the persistence of being in these rough positions is often supported by the isms of sexism and racism and class issues, ability, um, things like that. Really important factors, social ills that contribute to centrality and marginality. Now, as you can see, because of the differences in power, because of the differences in access to resources, in um, in having a voice in things, and importantly, because of the awareness differences that can be here, the relationship between the two parts tends to be difficult. Yeah. Let me say a little bit about the awareness part. Um, when a person or a group has been at the center for a while, it's easy to just take it for granted, just to kind of take it as the norm. Oh, I'm just I'm just normal. I'm at the center. I'm used to having more voice in things, used to having a bit more power. I don't even think about it anymore. Yeah. That's kind of normal in a sense, normal kind of a characteristic for the center when the central person or group, gets to be that for a while. However, at the margins, if there's significant marginalization, the person or group usually can't ignore that reality because it's a much more difficult existence and experience here at the margins. Yeah. And so the awareness of being at the margin tends to be more enhanced, where the awareness at the center tends to be dimmer. Yeah. And for that reason, and because of the power problems, the access and the inequity and the resources that are available to the two rough parts, that this relationship tends to be difficult. Now, if you're thinking about your own communal situations, whether it's your family, maybe it's an organization or community group that you're thinking of, um, uh, you might notice that you tend to belong to one or the other. You might notice that. You might think, oh, yeah, well, I'm pretty comfortable at work. I have a lot of say in things. I have a good position. People respect my voice. Or alternately, maybe you're in a situation where you're somewhat marginal. For example, you're on a team, but maybe your ideas don't really fit with the rest of the team or the central values of the team, and so you may experience yourself as marginal. And if that's you, you also may notice that if it goes on for a while, it tends to be a stressful position, tends to be a difficult position. It tends to be difficult to be heard by the center and also by the larger system. And so if you're thinking about the enhancement of community, you may also consider that this dynamic, when it goes on chronically, it makes for less of an overall sense of wholeness and sustainability for the larger system, especially when this is pronounced. Yeah. A couple other things. Because of the power of context, many people will have experiences of both. Maybe in your family, you're quite central, you're quite comfortable, you have good say in things, but let's say you go to your workplace and you're marginal. So many people, because of their different identities, because of different situations and contexts you're in, have experiences of both. And many people have more of a predominant experience, their more general experience is of one or the other. Okay. So, if we're thinking about leadership, if we're thinking about enhanced community life, it's really good to understand both parts, how these two can relate, because oftentimes the relationship is difficult, and also to have a sense of what could help. And awareness can help. Awareness that could help these parts communicate, look at the power and awareness problems that exist there, but if you're going to be in a leadership position or a facilitator position to try to help the situation, it's also really important that you understand that, yes, I'm trying to help, but my main position is still central, because that's an important piece. Because these rough positions can greatly influence your perspective, your own biases, etc., your feelings about the situation. So, yes, for example, we'll call this the facilitator who can help the situation, but the facilitator must know, I'm facilitating, but I'm mostly coming from a marginal point of view. So I tend to more support this part. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's important to have the clarity and the awareness of that. Or the facilitator, on the other hand, tends to identify more with the center. It's good to know that because there also may be some biases there and some assumptions about that view as the facilitator. Okay. Let me just pause here and see if there's a thought. Anything else to say about that? Also, there's I don't know where you're calling in from, but one of the things that gets talked about in social justice circles and more generally in life is what we call, at least in the U.S. context, microaggressions. This is in contrast to larger, more overt aggressions, for example, around for racist reasons, for sexist reasons, homophobic reasons, etc. And these little aggressions, these little insults, these little ways to invalidate people, they often come right at this intersection between center and margin because of awareness, the awareness gap here and the power differential. It's easy for the little aggressions to occur, and again, mostly in this direction from the center towards the margin. So a really important phenomenon to be aware of. So that's it. That's like the short form of it. Now, what I wanted to offer you. So, if this is interesting to you, you think, yeah, I do. I notice this in my family. Like I feel marginal in my own family, or yeah, I'm a parent in this family system, but I notice that we kind of look down a little bit at this one child that we have, et cetera, et cetera. Or you're in an organizational situation and you notice, yeah, there's a central part, and then there's a marginal part that complains and is angry because it's marginal. Maybe those people in the margins don't get paid as well. They don't get listened to, et cetera. Yeah. Or if you're general, or if you're interested in more general societal dynamics, you may say, yeah, this thing about who gets marginalized in my country, it's really not right. And how can we start to address this? Well, this is one way just to look at those systemic problems, and it's a way to address it. Now, quite often as the leader, so if you aspire to lead in these situations, to help facilitate in these situations, sometimes we have to do some of our own inner work around our own perspectives, our own beliefs, our own feelings, how we may be too one sided or too biased. So, here, what I'd like to offer, pull up my notes here, is a little, I'll call it an inner work that can let you explore an issue and how center and margin may be part of that issue. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through it. I'm also going to put it. I'm going to put it right in the chat. Let's see if it lets me. Oh yeah, there it goes. Uh-huh. Okay, so good. Okay, but I'm going to walk you through it. So this is something that you like to do. I invite you. Maybe it's something you want to do later when you have a little 10 or 15-minute period of time where you can be off your computer or off your phone. You have a little privacy. All right. So here it is. This is an inner work on center and margin. So start off and take a few relaxing breaths and bring to mind a favorite place in the world, somewhere where you tend to feel well. Yeah. And you can imagine yourself there now. Maybe it's at the home of a dear friend or family member. Maybe it's somewhere near the ocean or in the forest. Yeah. Somewhere you've gone is just, I like going there. And you can imagine yourself there now. Take a few breaths. You can see the sights of the place. You can hear the sounds of the place. And you can even notice how you feel in this place, as well as the quality or energy of the place that helps you to feel well. Okay. And then imagine for a few moments that you are in some way, you are this place. You are that welcoming, warm home of your grandparent, or you are that serene forest area, or you are that expansive area by the ocean or sea. Yeah. So that's right for you. Just imagine for a few moments that in some way, to some degree, you are that place. You can just breathe into that. I like the ocean myself, so I'm going to imagine that for a moment. Mhm. Okay. And then kind of gently let that go. Let it be in the background. Come back to your everyday self and bring to mind, excuse me, a main social issue that interests or concerns you. Yeah, maybe some issue that's going on in your country or in your community, maybe in your organization or family. For example, sexism in the workplace. Yeah, you notice, oh, men, they always get to speak and the women get talked over. they don't get listened to well, etc. Right? You can just think about that issue for a few moments. Yeah, identify the issue. Yeah, I want to work with homelessness. Yeah, it really troubles me. Or I want to work on these tensions between, um, Russia and their military escalation around Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and then once you've identified the issue that you'd like to explore for a little bit, imagine two people that come forth to debate the issue. Call one center and call the other one marginal. Yeah, one is central, one is marginal. And then imagine them having a very direct debate, conversation about this issue. And just for a minute or so right now, just listen to what they say to each other. What are their main points? And notice too, how do they interact with each other? What kind of power dynamics do you notice there? Yeah, one is central, one is marginal. Listen to their main points. Just for another few more moments. Let's see if you can allow them to say their main points. This is going to be a little quick here, because at home you might want to take more time to really listen to these two parts. But even if you listen to them for like a minute or two, you might notice, wow, yeah, these are really important points that they're making. Now here's the next step. Okay, which part, central or marginal, is closest to your everyday identity? Yeah, so just notice, and you may have a bit of both, but which one is a little bit closer to your everyday view and identity? And then, with this social issue in mind, as well as your own growth and awareness development, how might you need to believe in this part even more, or alternately, question or challenge it? Take a few moments for that. Yeah, notice which part, center, or margin is closest to you, your everyday self. And with that social issue in mind, do you need to believe in that part more? Or do you need to question or challenge that part of yourself? Hmm, yeah. Just take a moment with that. Okay. And then let's go one more step. Okay. A couple more steps. Next, which part, central or marginal, is furthest from your everyday self and identity? Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, that view. I kind of know it, but it's farther away from who I am. And then with that social issue in mind and your own growth and awareness development, how might you need to believe in this part even more? Or alternately, question or challenge it? Yeah. So just sit with that. Think about the part that's farthest away from your everyday self, either the central one or the marginal one. And how might you need to believe in that part more, or challenge it or question it? Take a few moments with that. And you may need to do both. Like I notice I'm doing a little version of that. I go, oh, yeah, actually, I need to do both. I need to believe in it more and challenge it more. Believe in it more in the sense of noticing how it shows up in me. That's my little version. Okay, last step. Ready? Now return to your favorite earth spot, the home of your dear friend or family member, or that nature place where you tend to feel well. And imagine going there now, even become it a little bit for a moment. And then from that one's point of view, from the point of view of that welcoming home or nature area, look at the social issue and the central and marginal parts, and notice what this nature or home spot sees. Hmm, just look at it. Let it look at the issue. Let it look and listen to the central and marginal parts. What does this nature or home spot see? Okay, let that register. Yeah. And then let it see your everyday self in relationship with this issue. And does this earth or nature spot or home energy spot have any advice for you in regards to your own growth, your own awareness development, and your understanding and relationship to this issue? Just take a moment to see. Good. And then, if you like, take a few notes on that. Come back to your everyday self, go about your everyday life, and you might consider, hmm, yeah, this issue is of interest. It's of concern to me. And you might consider working with this and talking to some friends about it, holding a public meeting about it, addressing it in your family or your organizational team, and then noticing in the different parts of your life, whether it's your social world or your work world, how do center and margin dynamics show up? How does center and margin dynamics show up inside your own mind, your own family, your own relationships? And then how can you start to understand the dynamic and be the kind of leader who can help with these parts, their relationship problems, their awareness problems, their power issues? Yeah. So that's it for today. Hope you have some good success there. If you have any comments, you can put them in the comment section of the video. Okay. Take good care. Bye now.